We're going live. Tons of time here. Am I live? Okay. You can hear me groaning. All right. We are live. And let's keep the box office a surprise. So what went on this week? It was a busy week for me. Crazy. I did. Well, last week was Valaris, and then I did Complete Care in Cape May, and then yesterday I did Wildwood Con or WildCon, which went pretty good. It was okay. It wasn't as good as last year, but went pretty good. I didn't get stuck across from animatronic puppets, so that was a huge plus. Last year it was like, oh God, how long am I going to have to hear this? What else? A lot of wheeling and dealing on the phone this week for me. Potential events and cons and signings. Got a few things booked, but not enough for February. I still got to do a lot of work this week. And I got some more stuff coming up. The next thing that's coming up is Valenzano Winery, and I hope Amazon will come through with a delivery on my books, because I'm running low. I don't have any more number ones, so I ordered some of them, but I'm just running low on books in general. And I kind of wanted to wait until Wildwood, but before I ordered, but I didn't. I think I ordered enough, but you never know. I don't know. That's a good problem to have, I guess. Constantly running out of books, but I'm praying and hoping I get books before Valenzano Winery, at least number ones. Oh, please, Amazon. Please give me my books. Early. That would be nice. Otherwise, they'll probably come the next day, and I'll be like, oh, JC is here. Hi, hi, hi. Welcome, JC. Welcome. Got started a little early today. Weather's crazy outside. Crazy yesterday. Here in South Jersey, it's supposed to be January. When I was a kid, they had snow on the ground in January. There was just no question about it. Sometimes even by October, we'd have snow on the ground, and it would rarely melt completely. You know, we'd have snow on the ground definitely in November, at least some snow squalls or whatever. And by December, we were definitely iced up. And January wouldn't even be a second thought. JC, cold has hit here. Yeah, it seems to be hitting most of the country. But in South Jersey, it's not too bad. In my town, tonight is cold. I haven't taken Joan out, which is going to be it's going to be a cold WALK. But tomorrow's 46. Monday's 30. Oh, well, today was 46. Tomorrow's 32. Tuesday looks like it might actually snow, according to this, because it finally drops to 33 or lower. So we might actually get snow. Oh, then the rest of the week is cold. So I guess we're getting blasted with the cold. But then by Tuesday of next week, it's 41 again. So, that's crazy. It says tap for more detail. Nothing's happening. Tap what? Oh, tap that. So, yeah, I'm not expecting a ton of snow, even. I would suspect we're probably not going to get much of any. Maybe just a little squall, as they say. But yeah, I know you know, in the rest of the country there's been snow. There was snow in Vermont. I know that because Sticks and Hammer did a video. But he's used to the snow. I'm getting used to not dealing with any snow. And so you know, it's sorry, I'm getting updates on something. I'm used to no snow, so I kind of like that. But let's get into it. Oh wait, I should probably wait. I should probably wait another 5 minutes before we get into it. Let people get here because it is supposed to be 7. I started early. Um. So. What else is going on? Oh, I've been reviewing. Holly M is here. Hello. It's nuts, but I'm not upset about it. Yeah, I'm not upset about lack of snow either. I've been reviewing Isom that John Adams bought for me last week, and that's been going well. It's odd to read that stuff finally, because it feels a little, it's not as good as I wanted it to be, unfortunately. JC, I just watched your Isom video. Yeah, what did you think? I think I was fair. I haven't looked at Alpha Core yet, which is Chuck Dixon's book, so I'm anxious to see that. EVS made like $4,000 on super chats reviewing them. Yeah, I'm not surprised. He's been talking about. There's been a lot of drama around him. Eric July, Yellow Flash. Yellow Flash apparently he offered the artist. Now this is according to EVS, Ethan Van Sciver. For those of you who don't know, apparently offered him $20,000 to draw a book, a graphic novel he wrote, or he could take a percentage and make potentially $400,000. So, which meant like no money up front. And look, and then, EVS said, oh, that's exploitation. Well, yes and no. If Yellow Flash presented that in such a way that it was a guarantee, then perhaps you'd have an argument. But if Yellow Flash told him, listen, if you want to do this, I'll let you have a huge percentage and you'll make a ton of money, or no percentage and I'll put out the money. I'm sure there was a middle ground there. I don't know why there wasn't a middle ground. They probably should have split the difference and, I don't know, paid him like $5 or $10,000 and then given him a smaller percentage. But whatever. I've given offers like that to artists too. Now, I don't expect to make millions of dollars. I just tell them up front, I'm not going to make any money. The webcomics don't make money. The print comics made a little bit of money. But I always tell them, you can't make a living on my comics. You have to do this in your spare time. And I did have an incident many years ago where I had an artist who wanted to quit his job and do art full time. And he told me, and I said, don't do that. Don't quit your job. He said, why? I want to do this full time. I said, yes, but I can't pay you full time. I don't have the money. You can quit your job, but it isn't going to make the money disappear or appear. And he did it anyway. And I'm not exactly sure what happened after that. I think he had some other means, but you got to make enough money to live. And JC, Eric is becoming a lolcow because he can't take criticism. He's starting fights with everyone. There are shows popping up that just exist to troll Eric. Yeah, that seems to be the case, unfortunately. I muted Eric, I think, or unfollowed him at least once, because although I thought what he did was amazing, where he raised that kind of money, but he wouldn't stop tweeting. I mean, it was endless, and it was all the same stuff. And after a while, I was just like, I don't want this guy in my feed. He shouldn't start fights on the internet. I mean, nobody should really, but if you're gonna do it, there's a way to do it that'll get you more viewers. I mean, some people believe any drama on the internet will get you viewers. I don't believe that's the case. Eventually, people burn out on it, I think. Um, I don't like drama on the internet. Um, I don't like drama, period. So I just don't do it. If Eric came at me, I'd be like, dude, I just reviewed your comic. I tried to say nice things. And I did say some nice things. I said what I thought was positive. I said what I thought needed work. Um, People don't like criticism, unfortunately. I did a trailer reaction to David Duchovny's new movie, Adam the First, and I like David Duchovny as an actor. I think he's fine, but I think he's miscast in the role. And then there were some people who seemed to be clearly David Duchovny fans who were like upset at what I said. It was weird. JC Dilliard, the artist, has a family. Their house folded over the holidays. Guys from John Della Rosa's audience had to buy him a Christmas tree and presents for his kids. Oh, that's sad. That's sad. Dude, he shouldn't have, he shouldn't have taken the gig like that. He should have been able to do the math and realize, like, now what's going to happen? What's going to happen to Yellow Flash's comic now that this drama has dropped? JC flooded. Oh, it was flooded over the holidays. Oh, that sucks. That really sucks. Yeah, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen when Yellow Flash finally puts out that comic now? I don't think a lot of the comic skaters will support him. He does have a big audience, though. He has a pretty big YouTube audience. I forget how big it is. I think we can look it up right now. Let's see. Yellow Flash. He has 435,000 subscribers. Now, if he does the same sort of numbers that Eric July did, because Eric July, I think, only has about 345,000 subscribers, something like that. So he has 100,000 more people potentially to back his Kickstarter. He could do the kind of money that Eric July did. But Eric July is more focused on comics. So more of his audience is more comic oriented. Flash is partly focused on comics, but also focused on manga, is also focused on cartoons and other things. So some of his audience might just not want comics, even though they support him. I don't know. He's also got, other avenues. He's got his locals community and whatnot. JC, Flash is throwing all in with Eric and Friday Night Tights crew. They don't like EVS, so Flash turned his back on EVS, even though EVS was on his Saturday show. Yeah, that doesn't seem right. I don't see why you have to turn your back on EVS necessarily. But I will say, in Flash's defense, JC, Eric and Friday Night Tights guys don't like EVS. I will say, in their defense, too, that EVS, to me, says and does certain things that, he's made mistakes, too, I think. I can't think of a specific example. Normally, he's fine. He's normally fine. But he has said and done a few things that were a little, I don't know. They're a little too much. But look, I don't hold it against him because we all kind of do. We're all human. Flash apparently got drunk on a stream and said some things. Look, and Eric will probably eventually cool down and realize that he can only keep this sort of internet fight up for so long. He'll eventually get sick of it. So I think they should all just calm down. Flash didn't even say anything to EVS, just blocked him out of nowhere. Well, if he's going to do it, that's the way to do it, Flash is always drunk on streams. He says he's sober now. I don't know how true that is. But you know, it feels to me a little bit like drama farming. I mean, because EVS is in the nexus of an Eric July thing, something about a letter, and so maybe this is okay by him because they're both feeding to each other's audience, and the drama gives them more attention. I mean, Yellow Flash is trending on X right now, or Twitter, or whatever the hell you call it. So that's got to help him, right? I mean, if you're trending on Twitter, everybody's going, Yellow Flash, what's that? Isn't that the guy who's the bad guy in the Flash? JC, this is going to drive Flash to drink again, LOL. Oh, I hope not. That would be rough. But I think Flash did make a mistake. That, you know, is he announced, I don't know if he announced it, but he apparently told someone Ethan Van Sciver's cover rate, which is not a nice thing to do to a freelancer, because I'm a freelancer. I understand how that is. You're negotiating prices with people. You don't want your rate out there because they will use it against you in negotiations. So it's frustrating to have that out there for Ethan Van Sciver. I don't think Flash is a freelancer, right? I think he's a YouTuber. I don't think he's ever worked in comics before. So, you know, he's just approaching it from the most economically way possible for him. And if he could get the guy to draw for free and then give him a percentage, he doesn't have to put out any money up front. And again, that can work. But it would have required Dillard to go, okay, let me see if my finances are such that I can live for a year in my house. Or whatever he has. I mean, he has a house and kids. I don't know how you do that. You know, I just don't, you know, but if he had enough savings and he thought he could do it, maybe it was worth it to him because he thought, well, I'll get this giant payday and I trust Flash or whatever. Now it looks like it's all gone to hell. For what? For internet clout? For people to yell at each other? You know. So the lines have been drawn apparently. At this point, I can't even follow it all because there's so much back and forth. JC, I think the budget went out the window when his house flooded, though. Probably, yeah. Probably. That's a shame. He's got kids. Yeah, I mean, at that point, you know, like Flash, to me, is at least partly... I'm not trying to take sides, but I think he could have handled it better. I think what he could have done is come out and said, Ethan, sorry about dropping your rate. I didn't think that was a big deal. You know, or dropping it in terms of like saying it. I thought that was public knowledge. You know, something like that. As in terms of Dillard, you know, if Flash had the $20K initially to pay him, maybe it would have been, you know, big of him to say, hey, listen, Dillard, I know we cut this deal, but let's renegotiate. I'll give you some money so you can get through this hard time, and, you know, we'll both come out better in the end. Everything's negotiable, in my view. Now, some people don't want to negotiate. They just know what they know, and that's it, and I'm out of here, and see ya. You can be that way, but you know, then you're making enemies. Then you're stressing yourself out. Sometimes you have to do that, but you don't want to bring that in. But for the drama on the internet, oh, that stuff, people eat it up. So I don't think you should put a lot of personal stuff on the internet. Like, for instance, Sticks and Hammer doesn't put any personal stuff up. And it seems like possibly his marriage ended. Nobody knows the real story. It's a shame. He has a kid, but he's back in the States, and he hasn't mentioned his wife or his kid in many videos. So I hope things work out for him. I hope his wife and kid rejoin him in the States, but I don't know I don't know him personally, so I don't know his deal. Um, you know, everybody's got their own personal stuff, but I've always found that if you, like when I was younger, oh man, if you crossed me, or if even I even suspected you crossed me, oh man, I would lose my temper. I would scream. I'd be ready to throw down, man. I'd be ready to throw the f down. These days, I've realized like doing that all the time, it doesn't get you anything. Although on the internet, it gets you hits, I guess. JEC, there used to be a group of fans with comic gates called War Campaign who acted as EVS's personal troll army online. They eventually got out of control, and most of the ill will towards EVS is from them. Well, that's not good either. Um, you know, Ethan may not have handled that right. And I would partly blame him, although not totally. You can't control fans, but if they were known to him, certainly he could have said something, but who knows what he actually knew and when he knew it. JC Flash has apparently been chatting with ex-War Campaign guys back on the Discord rooms. Uh-oh. That doesn't sound good. So now they're all going to go gunning for EVS. I don't think that's a good idea either. None of this ends well. None of this ends with more comics and less woke stuff. This ends with, somebody getting sued, somebody losing money, somebody losing their channel. All this stuff is nonsense anyway. YouTube, in my personal opinion, YouTube is probably going to shut down most of these channels. Like 99% of them. If you're not YouTube approved, I think your channel will get shut down eventually. I think mine will too, but I'm so small that I'm like so far down on the list. They may put me in some sort of, and I may already be there, some sort of limbo situation where I can't really grow the channel. It's kind of like Facebook, I think. Like Facebook, my Facebook hasn't grown in like, I'll say 15 years, 20 years. However, how long have I been on Facebook? I don't even know. I'll say at least 10. It just jammed the controls at I forget what number. Same thing with my fan sites for Superfrat and the Webcomic Factory. They just jammed. They just don't move. The numbers have been exactly the same, or it ticks down one, ticks up one, then ticks back down. They have the ability, I think, in the algorithm to do that in YouTube. They just have to employ it. Sticks and Hammer has talked about this on his channel. His channel's not really growing, but his channels are growing on other platforms. So, these guys, now some of them are making the moves to other platforms, and that's good, but, the money that I assume they're making on YouTube, that's going away, I think. I think it's all going away. And it'll be interesting to see what happens when YouTube finally just says, okay, all you guys get out of here. JC, Flash has apparently been chatting with X-War. Oh, I read that one. Holly, Facebook, X, they want you to be verified if you pay. Yeah, that's part of it too. Yeah, I mean, somebody I know just recently bought a Facebook ad, and I just was like, why? Why did you buy a Facebook ad? I don't think it's worth much. But I understand they're trying to monetize their platforms or whatever. So, such is life. Such is life. But Hollyann, if you pay, then you can grow. Yeah. I haven't paid, but I did finally kick up a couple of followers on Facebook. Like I think it was in the high 690s for a long time. It just got over 700. So it'll be interesting to see if in the next week it ticks back down. But and it's probably a very simple algorithm they could add where it's like the least active users who follow you get eliminated because they haven't, connected with you in probably months and years anyway. So they just disappear and you don't even notice because you're not interacting with them. Holly M, I won't give in. Down with the man. LOL. Thank you, Holly. Appreciate that. Let's move on to happier news like the box office. Oh boy, this isn't very happy at all. It's interesting though. It's interesting. Watching the movie industry kind of, I don't know, die, I guess. It's not doing great. What is the total box office? Oh, it almost cracked 100 mil, so that's a slight improvement. Number one is Mean Girls, so I was pretty resigned that this was going to be the number one movie. I was kind of hoping The Beekeeper would beat it, but I mean, I think there's enough member berries here that people who remember the old Mean Girls were like, okay, I'm going to go see new Mean Girls and see who they cast and see the musical numbers and whatnot. So they made this movie. 28 million, 6.5 million overseas. I don't see this having much overseas appeal because it's a movie about American high school students, and high schools in other countries are a little different. Australia, it's high, 2.3 million. Mexico, 1.7 million. Yeah, it's not even in China. I bet the Chinese wouldn't even understand this movie because their high schools are probably way different. I know the Japanese ones are. They'd probably look at it and go, wow, no wonder there's such a mess. Look at their high schools. Yeah, I have no interest in Mean Girls. Ugh. No thanks. Number two, The Beekeeper. I kind of wouldn't mind seeing this. I mean, otherwise known as Jason Statham's movie, I don't know, 25. 16.7 million. Now, this one I'm surprised isn't getting international distribution yet. Do they have it slated? Okay, it hasn't. Guess it hasn't opened anywhere else yet. Now, so it opens this week in other countries. It should do okay. He's like Steven Seagal now, right? He does what he does every movie, you know? This time he's a beekeeper. Next time he'll be, I don't know, the mailman. The mailman. He always delivers. You know, and on it'll go until he gets so old he'll be doing Liam Neeson type movies, right? He'll be doing the movie where I'm about to retire from being a hitman, and now I'm doing one last job, but there's this beautiful girl who reminds me of my lost love, and I won't kill her. I won't kill her. I'm going to turn against the very people who I've worked for the last 50 years. And, you know, it'll probably be pretty decent. I like these movies. They're fun. There are lots of action. Have some cool stunts. I like the stunts. Plot-wise, you got to check your brain at the door. Sometimes they have some cool twists on it. They've been doing these for so long. You know, I'm sure there'll be a scene where he releases the bees and drives everybody out of a building and uses that somehow in a very clever way. But it's kind of the same Jason Statham movie. I mean, you know, instead of having a car like he did in the one where he had the car. What was that one? I forget. He did like 3 of those. He's a beekeeper. He has bees. He doesn't have a car. He has bees. Yeah, unfortunately for him, he's sort of stuck in this role, but he's good at it. He's good at it. You know, and he's made a ton of money, so. Number 3 is Wonka, the former number 1 movie. Beekeeper made 16.7, by the way. Wonka, in its 5th week, made 8.3 million. It's done very well, $500 million, $505 million worldwide. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's probably money. It's probably money. I think they're going to do a sequel to this. Sure. So, I don't know. It didn't look good to me, but people like it. I've heard some mildly positive things about it. Not like super positive things. Anyone But You was number 4. It comes back up. Wow, it was number 5 last week and then comes back up. This movie got panned on, I think, Fandom Pulse, but I mean, Glenn Powell's in shape. Sydney Sweeney's a smoke show, and I gotta say their banter was pretty tolerable. 77 million worldwide. What's the budget on this thing? Doesn't say. I wouldn't think the budget would be that high on this movie. Maybe 30 mil? Something like that? I mean, it's not like it has effects or anything. Just a bunch of people at hotels in wacky situations. So I think this is probably money. And I think they'll probably make a sequel. Or maybe do more movies with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell as the couple. Because they seem to have good chemistry. You know? I've seen plenty of those trailers where I go, oh God, this is awful. This is boring, handsome man meets slightly motivated, good-looking woman. But in that one, it's super hot chick meets, with a bit of a personality, meets Glenn Powell, who's not awful. So, plus he's going to be in the sequel to Top Gun, which was announced, Top Gun 3. I don't think they have a title for it yet. But, yeah, he's going to be around, I think. Number 5 is Migration, which dropped from 4. So this is a kid's movie. Probably doesn't have the same legs as some of the other movies. Did 172 mil worldwide. Production budget 72 million. Okay, that's money. That's money. Money in the bank. That'll probably get a sequel too. I mean, look, the bar is low for a sequel. A thing made money, make a sequel. Make a sequel. Cut the budget, make a sequel. That's usually the way they do it. You know? They want to definitely make... Unless the movie is like one of these gigantic Marvel movies or something, they're probably going to cut the budget on the sequel. Depending on how they feel, if it could do well. You know? And it's smart, right? Because it's the law of diminishing returns. Now, the upshot of doing the sequel is... Some people will go back and watch the first movie on streaming, which helps your streaming platform. So it's just like I do with my books, with the Pineys. If I sell a book downstream, hopefully people like it, they read it, they go and they buy the earlier copies. So that's the way it kind of works with movies too. But it's probably not as lucrative. So they got to make a call, you know. Are we going to spend another 72 million to make another one of these things? Now they do real well with some of the cartoon movies, so you never know. Maybe they'll do a spin-off. I'm sure there was a bunch of crazy characters in it. But that did 6.1 million. Anyone But You did 6.9 million. So they're kind of neck and neck, but still. Number 6 is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, dropping from 3. This movie didn't do as bad as I thought it would. 5.2 mil, 373 worldwide. A 205 million production budget. That is almost breaking even, if not money. I don't think they spent a lot of money on advertising this time around. I think they knew it was a stinker. Probably cut way back, which means this is probably a little bit of money. Now, not the kind of money you'd expect for a $205 million investment, but as long as it's in the black. And, you know, like I said, I think Hollywood plays fast and loose with the books. Probably they just wanted to go, oh yeah, we just broke even. Look at that. That's so crazy. Another movie that made the exact amount of money we spent. Huh, guess we don't owe you any taxes, Uncle Sam. Oops. sorry. Possibly. But, you know, who knows? I mean, not for nothing, Warner Brothers and Disney have a lot of write-offs for the last couple of years, so I don't think that's really that much of an issue. JC, I don't think that's the real numbers for the budget. They filmed that thing like 4 times. It may not be. You know, it may not be. But we don't know. It is possible. You know, it is possible when they said they reshot that was part of their, you know, obfuscation of what they were going to do with Amber Heard, right? Because there was a lot of controversy with Amber Heard in that movie. They may have been trying to telegraph to people, oh, no, we're doing all these reshoots. It's going to be completely different. Amber Heard's probably not even going to be in it. See Aquaman 2 in theaters coming soon. And then people go, okay, well, they did a lot of reshoots. I keep hearing about that. Maybe she's not in the movie. And it turns out she was pretty much in the movie. Her role was cut down, but not as much as people speculated. It kind of depends on what they wanted to achieve behind the scenes. They may have... And keep in mind, too, DC, I've heard, budgets the reshoots in. At least the initial reshoots. Like a lot of money. Trying to remember what I heard. I think they budgeted 20 or 30 million extra in the first Aquaman movie. So their plan was shoot the movie, show it to a focus group, and then go back and reshoot, I guess, whatever they thought they could fix. And when they say 4 times, did they reshoot the entire movie 4 times, or did they just go back and reshoot a handful of scenes 4 different times? So, I don't know. They have lots of ways, I think, to hide the money, move the money, or appear that, you know, keep in mind it's a studio too, right? So they got a giant lot. They've got sound stages and equipment for other movies, and other things are going on. So, you know, it's all done in-house. But at the same time, they're charging, every department's charging other departments. It's very complicated accounting wise, because like everything's set up as separate things so they can keep writing off the expense. Even though if you have a camera and you use it, you know, other than, I don't know, the videotape at this point, what expense do you have? You don't buy another camera. However, if you have a camera department that is set up like a little mini company or mini division separate from, I don't know, the production division or whatever, then it's like, well, we have to rent the camera, even though it's from your own company, and then that costs money, and then we do the math and like, oh, see, we didn't make any money. And everybody gets paid. Now, I think if, I don't know, the U.S. government decided tomorrow, we're done with these Hollywood a-holes, they would come down like a bag of hammers on these studios and say, oh, you've been writing this off on your taxes. It's highly illegal. And then you would look back and they'd be doing it for like 50 years, I'm sure. But I don't think they care, because they have like a cozy relationship with Hollywood, because just like Hollywood doesn't want to piss off certain political figures because they want to get interviews with other political figures, the political class doesn't want to piss off the media guys too much because they want the coverage when they need it. So one hand washes the other. But who knows the real story? This is all very complicated, and there's a lot of skullduggery, I think, behind the scenes on these things. There's so much money involved. I mean, think about how much $205 million is. $205 million. You know? It's just a ton of money. Mostly it's just going to people to do stuff, right? It's going to the people who do the effects and crew and all that stuff. It's just so much money. So much money. YT Refugee. Hello, YT. Hollywood makes their propaganda. Yes, they do. And some people on YouTube. Number 7 is Night Swim in its second week. Drops from 2 to 7. Oof. At 4.6 million. This one, for like about 5 minutes, they were saying, oh, is this going to be the number 1 movie box office thing? I don't think it was number 1. I think it came close, though. 29 million, which isn't bad for a horror movie. This probably didn't cost jack. It doesn't say. I would imagine a movie about a haunted swimming pool probably didn't cost a lot of money. If this movie cost, I'm going to say, more than 15 million, I'd be shocked. It's just not a lot of stuff in this one. It's all shot in a backyard in a pool. Mostly. And in the house. Yeah, Carrie Condon's in it, but I don't think her name's that big, even though she was in Banshees of Inisherin and is considered a pretty good actress. She's sort of the big name in this thing. But it's pretty standard horror movie, I think. I don't think it would cost much money to make this movie at all. So I think this is probably money. Premiering at number 8, Guntar Karam. No idea. 4.1 million. It's only in 800 theaters. I think this is a Bollywood deal. So again, we don't have the numbers on Indian box office, unfortunately. But I'm almost sure that's a Gundam Karam is a look at that name for the distributor. That is definitely a Bollywood production out of India. But the fact that it's in 800 theaters, I mean, there is an audience here for it. This is 800, theaters in the United States. So they're making inroads in India here. They really are. And I find it fascinating. At the same time, it's like, Hollywood's in such rough shape. India's cinema is making inroads here. I don't think it's because there are more Indian people here, although I think there are, but I think it's more because Hollywood is just dropping the ball and they don't care. So they're happy to let these guys do it. It's sort of like outsourcing the work, right? So if a Bollywood production can make money for the distributor and the theaters, why not? Keep the theaters, keep the lights on at least for another few weeks. I have no idea what it's about though. Yeah, I think I remember seeing the thumbnail for the trailer, but I didn't look at it. Number 9 is Boys in the Boat, dropping from 6. Third week, 39 million, 0.7. This is the rowing movie. It looks fine. It looks okay. It's kind of hard to tell with a movie like this. It's a period piece, so it could be expensive, but they spend most of it in the water, rowing around in boathouses, so not that much extra money. You need costuming anyway. I mean, this is a decent sized movie. Probably didn't cost less than 20-30 mil, but it's more of a drama, so once you get everybody in the right clothes and haircuts and find some old buildings, you're pretty much set. It looked good. I mean, good for one of these movies. I'm not a huge fan of inspirational sports movies. They're just kind of like all the same to me. Like, all right, these guys win the boat thing. Okay, fine with me. Go ahead, win the boat thing. If you were really into rowing, I get why you'd be into it. Number 10, premiering at 10, The Book of Clarence. Now, I saw this trailer, and I don't know why they greenlit this movie. 2.5 million. It's supposed to be a satire, I think, but it doesn't come off as very funny. Um, it just comes off as kind of trying to be too serious, trying to do something serious and about religion, and I don't really get it, it's you even have the actors looking smug and stuff like this. Like, if it's written smug, even the actors are looking like, I'm doing something clever. That might be partly on the director, who I think is also the writer. Yeah, basically, Clarence, a down on his luck denizen of Jerusalem, embarks on a misguided attempt to capitalize on the rise of celebrity and influence the Messiah of his own for his own personal gain. A journey leads on him on an exploration of the idea of faith to a highly unexpected path of his own. So it sounds like it's kind of starts out as a funny movie and then sort of goes into something serious. I don't know who this is aimed at, right? Because you would think that people, JC, the word you're looking for is blasphemous. Yeah, I guess it is. But it could be good. I mean, it could make some interesting statements about religion if it was smart. It doesn't seem very smart, though. It seems like a college student's version of, like, Jesus wasn't so cool, that kind of deal. Christianity wasn't end all be all, and here's why. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like a very college student sort of way to write. Martin Scorsese's Jesus movie, it had some ideas. I don't know if it was The Last Temptation of Christ. It wasn't the greatest movie in the world to me, but it was kind of interesting. It was weird. Harvey Keitel. But this doesn't even feel like it's doing that. It feels like he gave a kid a movie budget and he went, okay, Dad, I'm going to do a movie about Jesus. I'll show you. And then, everybody in the cast is black, or most of the main characters are black, I'll say, which doesn't seem to jibe with biblical times, from what I understand, although some people argued with me online about that. I didn't know really what to say to them other than, I don't think you're right. But, I wasn't looking for a whitewashed, version of this. That wasn't my main problem anyway. It all just seemed like nothing to me. The whole movie, the whole trailer rollout was just like, well, it's not funny. Like, to me, it could be hilarious. It could be a hilarious send-up like Life of Brian, right? It could be the black version of Life of Brian. That could be funny. It could be something like, that History of the World, JC, Tony, they was Kangs. It could be like History of the World, right? The Roman scenes. It could be like off-the-wall comedy and make statements about things. And you can make a couple of serious statements in there, but you got to keep the laughs going if you're going to go down that road. If you're going to do satire, it's got to be really biting satire. Like, really biting. Just doesn't... I don't even know who they're going after in this. They don't seem to be really going after Jesus. That seemed to... if this movie's aimed at a black audience, it seems like that would be the wrong target. You wouldn't want to go after Jesus. I think there's a lot of Christians in the black community that wouldn't appreciate that. So you'd want to do something positive for religion in your own weird way, or you'd want to make it just so damn funny people wouldn't care. YT Refugees. Monty Python was classic. Ah, yeah. Life of Brian's a lot of fun. Yeah, this doesn't even seem that fun. Like, some of, like, you watch it and you watch the trailer and it's kind of like, okay, you're on the way to being funny. What did you get off the train? It's weird. It's odd. And who else is in it? I think what's his face? Oh God, McCoy. McCoy, is that his name? The guy from he was in Wanted. He was in Split. I can't think of the guy's name. Time to go to the IMDb. Let's see. James McAvoy. That's who I was thinking of. James McAvoy's in it as a Roman guy. Benedict Cumberbatch is in it. I think he might be Caesar. I'm not sure. So those two guys are pretty big names, but they're like kind of barely in the trailer, which I'm just like, why even put them in? JC, they made it so they could make Jesus black and make the white people the villains. Yeah, but it doesn't even, it doesn't even seem to go far enough in that, Like, if you're going to do that, like, really go for it. But you can't be like the victims, the heroes, the guys who knew everything. Like, you gotta sort of pick and choose, who you are. Yeah, so that I won't linger on this, but it doesn't look great. It's just missing a lot. Either it should have went full bore comedy, which I think could have worked. I really do. I think it could have been hilarious send up of the apostles, the black version of the apostles, the black Jesus. I would see that. I would see a funny version of that if it was gonna go. I don't want to see a serious version of that. It's not serious. It's just not serious. They weren't black. Okay, there. So, give us a black version of the Bible. I don't care. That sounds like a fun thing. Show us how different it would be. And you don't even, why even put white people in it at all if you're going to do that? Make all the Romans black too. Why not? If you're going to go in for a penny, in for a pound, I say. Go the whole way. It would have been fun to have, I don't know, Kevin Hart in it and Cat Williams. Just throw in every black celebrity you can find to play famous people from that time, right? Who could be Caesar? I don't know, Cedric the Entertainer as Caesar. I don't really like Cedric, but that would be funny. Holly M. Adult Swim did Black Jesus. Already been done. That's true. That's true, but that took place in the modern day. In fact, I really liked that show. That was a fun show. Although it was obvious that character was crazy, and they kind of would make allusions to, yeah, he's not really Jesus. He just thinks he's Jesus. But that was a fun show. It had a lot of, anything with Charlie Murphy in it, it's going to be fun. R.I.P. Charlie Murphy. So yeah, in fact, I would have cast that guy to be Jesus in this movie. That would have been even more hilarious. So yeah, you might as well go the whole 9, make the entire cast black, and then say whatever you have to say. In a satire, you don't really have to explain anything, but if you're gonna halfway do it, then to me it's confusing. It's like, well, is this a comedy, or is this a satire, or is this real, or is this not meant to be taken real? Like, JC, you hear what Cat Williams said about Cedric the Entertainer and Steve Harvey? Not specifically, but I heard that he had a podcast where he said a bunch of spicy things. I don't know the exact details of it, but I do know that people were upset some people were upset, I'll say. And some people were just talking about it like, oh my God, he said all these crazy things. Um, I know he said stuff like, he kind of said, like, well, I got my own thing. I don't need these people in Hollywood. And then proceeded to blast everybody in Hollywood, which may or may not be true, but I mean, those people have money and a lot of pull. I mean, I wouldn't say you're completely isolated from Hollywood, but sure, I could see that he has his own business and fans and whatnot, but they got some pull. JC, very entertaining Cat Williams interview. I might have to watch that at some point. But I don't know if he said something really dopey a few months ago, and I can't for the life of me think what it was. It was really weird, and then I kind of went, not another woke Hollywood guy or whatever. And then I kind of dismissed him for a while, but then he resurfaced in this thing, and I don't know. A lot of times I think these celebrities just say things because they need to get in the news cycle because they're promoting something or they're trying to sell something, and so then boom, suddenly there's a big giant controversy, and for a while they're in everything. For a while they're in the news cycle, and you're seeing them and they're picking it apart. JC, Cat is not woke. He doesn't seem to be from what he said now, but I remember that. I don't remember what he said, but he did say something pretty wacky. And I remember being disappointed in hearing him say it. But maybe it wasn't true. That's another possibility, too. Sometimes they attribute things to these people that they didn't even say, or they said it in a different way. So, yeah, and he was, though, in a movie, and this is about the time I heard it. There was a movie called, like, Bad Neighbors or something with Mike Epps, and he was in the sequel. And the first movie is about Mike Epps and his family move into JC. He's probably a pre-2016 liberal type. Yeah. So Mike Epps and his family, who are all black, I think, move into a neighborhood that's mostly white, and then he has a racist neighbor that has it in for him. I guess it's called Bad Neighbors or something like that. So the whole movie is about their little war back and forth. But then the second movie, they make a sequel to it. And then the second movie has vampires in it. And Cat Williams plays, he's a pimp. And at first you think, oh, this is another Bad Neighbors. Except now, instead of battling the racist white woman next door, he's going to battle the criminals next door who's a pimp. But no, it turns out he's also a vampire and a pimp. And then so it's like a completely different movie, but it's a sequel, right? That's pretty nuts. Like the first movie is like this weird, wacky comedy about neighbors, and then the second movie turns into like a vampire movie. But they're both comedies. But of course, Cat Williams as the vampire pimp was well cast, I thought. He seemed to be good in that role. Because first he confronts him in one scene, and at first, like, Cat is sort of like the sleazy guy who can't really fight, but then later he reveals that he's a vampire, and it's like, yeah, he could kill you at any time. So it kind of worked. Number 11 is The Iron Claw, 2.4 million. This is the wrestling movie. I thought this would do better, but did 29 million. And again, the production budget, here it is, 15.9. So probably a break even at least. You know, it maybe it does better. Maybe it gets an Oscar nod or something. Maybe they re-release it. Number 12, From 15. Oh, they put it in more theaters. Is American Fiction, which is another movie I'm rooting for. 1.9 million. It's only made 5.2 million so far. Not sure why they're sort of squeaking this out, but this might get an Oscar nod. This looks really good. It's in its 5th week, though. Why bump it up now? I guess they're trying to time it for the Oscars. I don't know. So they bumped it up into 511 theaters, or maybe it's just doing well and they figured, oh, we'll give it a wider release. So, yeah, that's up. I don't think this is ever going to do gangbusters. Maybe after the Oscars, if it wins something. They should have a separate Oscar for comedy, I think. Comedy, satire, that sort of category. I think it's a different animal. I think if they wanted to expand the Oscars, and they should probably think about doing it, the way to expand it would be to have different categories based on genre, you know? So have Best Picture Comedy, Best Picture Drama, Best Picture Epic, Best Picture Sci-Fi Fantasy, something like that. I think that could be interesting. But we'll see what happens this year. I mean, I think probably Barbie will get it, just because Barbie will get Best Picture maybe, and then like Oppenheimer will get Best Director. And I think Robert Downey Jr. is up for Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor. I don't think he was one of the main guys. All right, Joan, you got to watch the stream for a minute. I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Oh my gosh. All right. So next up is The Color Purple at 13. This is a musical. Did also 1.9 million, just slightly under American Fiction. Drops from 7 all the way down to 13. I don't know why they made this, but it did 57 million. That's not bad. For a movie like this, no budget, but although they probably spent some money on this, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. On the one hand, it's a period piece. On the other hand, it's a musical, so they will be selling a soundtrack with it. Yeah, I don't get it either. The Color Purple, the musical. Like when they announced this on Broadway, I thought, what is the songs in that? Because it was, I mean, I saw the original movie with Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah Winfrey and Danny Glover. It's about a woman who's trapped in a marriage and she gets beaten by her husband and he treats her horribly, and then later she overcomes adversity. Like, what are the songs? Oh, I'm going to beat you now. Like, it doesn't seem like a happy time, but then I saw the trailer and it looks like a Broadway show, and there's cars in it. There's like fancy clothes, so I think they rewrote the story. JC Barry, I think you mean Barbie, isn't winning Best Picture, but will win for all the production and costume awards. Best Original Song. They'll probably give Best Picture to a foreign movie you never heard of again. Possibly. Yeah, that is possible. I don't know if there's I'm trying to think of a foreign movie that would be in the mix for the Oscars. I don't know. Oppenheimer and Barbie did really well. I think they'd want to promote that. If Barbie doesn't get it, I would say Oppenheimer. But some foreign movie? I don't know, man. It seems like kind of out from left field. can't think of any big hits that made it here, but you know, I, seems like a weird move. But then again, who cares about the Oscars? I really don't care about them anymore. I kind of used to, and now it's just like, the Oscars, let it die. There's another thing that could die. I wouldn't care. There's too many award shows. I wish all the other, like maybe if all the other award shows were closed down and they said, okay, we're just going to have the Oscars, then yes. Then I'd be like, okay, we'll have one award show and it'll be the Oscars and that'll be for all the movies, for all the things, and then that's it. That's kind of the way it used to be. JEC, Robert Downey Jr. will win Best Supporting Actor. Yeah, I guess his role's supporting. It's not the main guy. Cillian Murphy will win for Best Actor, maybe. Or again, they'll give it to some movie you never heard of. Oh, now I know which one it is. It's either going to be Anatomy of a Fall. I don't think it's going to be that. It'll be the Zone of Interest. That's a foreign movie, I think. I don't recognize anybody in it. Oh, I know another movie that could be in the mix. Cinematographer friend told me about it last night. I think I did a trailer reaction to it. It's called Promised Land with Mads Mikkelsen. He says it's brilliant. So yeah, might have to check that out. That could be the one that's in the mix. And that would be perfect because people know in America who Mads Mikkelsen is, right? We all know him. So that could work. It's a foreign film. They get their foreign film credit. But it's got somebody that people know. And Mads may be in the running too. I think he'll definitely get a nod for that one if it's as good as my friend says. Number 14 is Poor Things, down from 10, 1.8 million. I'm gonna guess this is gonna get some kind of nomination. I don't think it's gonna win anything though. 20 million. This is one of the obscure movies that'll win something. Probably like set design or costuming or something. If Barbie gets one, it'll at least be nominated in those categories. Maybe Emma Stone will get a nomination just for being the lead actress, but not win. But you never know. If she wins that, oh man, I think that'll be the ruination of Emma Stone. If she wins an Oscar, she's too young, and they're going to put her in more pretentious movies if that happens, I think. This movie seems super pretentious and weird and mildly groomery. I have no interest. This is Feminist Frankenstein, from what I understand. Trailer was brutal. The Boy and the Heron, number 12. This is number 15, down from 12. 1 million. 250 million, 257 million. Probably made money because is that Japanese or Korean? I think it's Japanese, but it's anime either way. And either way, it doesn't cost what it costs here to make. So that's definitely money. Again, another foreign film. That might win something. That might win Best Adapted Screenplay or something like that, because I'll bet money it was a comic book or a manga before it was a movie. So they might be able to throw it in Best Adapted Screenplay, something like that. Although there was some controversy about where they're putting Barbie in terms of screenplay. Was it going to be adapted or not adapted? Just weird, because what is it adapted from? The doll? That doesn't seem like an adaptation. There wasn't really much of a story with Barbie. Like, it wasn't a magazine or there was a comic, but that was kind of like the movie. It was just based off the doll. I don't think it should be under adapted screenplay, right? It doesn't make any sense to me. Godzilla -1, ya boy, $853,000. Of course, made decent money. Only cost $15 million to make. So, yeah, they'll be making a sequel to this. I mean, they'd be crazy not to in Japan. So I hear great things. I really want to see it, but the rate I'm going, I don't think I'll get to see it until it hits streaming service. Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, 582,000. I so don't care about this movie, but unfortunately, it seems to have made money. It seems to have made, yeah, it only cost 100 mil and it made 300 mil, 325 mil. So, unfortunately, the franchise will continue, probably with Rachel Zegler laughing all the way to the bank. Ferrari, 500,000, didn't do well, 35 million worldwide. Kind of thought this would do better because it's a car movie. And production budget, yeah, this is a loss, baby. Oof, 95 million according to this. That is not good. That is a $60 million loss for who made this thing? Ferrari, Neon. Yeah, it's a big loss. Big old loss there. Rough, man. I would have greenlit that. I mean, I would have thought, with Adam Driver in the lead, it would have done something. Would have done something. But 95 mil, man. That's a lot of money it didn't make. All of Us Strangers, 474,000. This is a gay romance movie. Probably didn't cost much to make. 1.5 million. Starring, I think, Professor Moriarty from that Sherlock series with Benedict Cumberbatch. I think he's one of the guys. Looks like him anyway. They put it in more theaters, so I guess it's doing okay, but it's in its fourth week, so they're trying to... Again, this is Oscar season. I think maybe they'll try to get an Oscar nod. I don't know. I haven't heard really anything about it beyond what I talked about here, and I think I looked at the trailer. Trolls band together. Dear God, let this go away. 204 million. And unfortunately, that's money. It cost $95 million to make, and it made 204 million. So, unfortunately, Trolls will continue to live on. Soul, which this was the cartoon Pixar made, and got crushed by the pandemic. Now they're putting it out. I think everybody who saw it wanted to see it. Oh, look at the international box office, though. Hey, that did pretty good internationally. Here, I think everybody saw it. So it only made $429,000, but internationally, $118 million. Huh. Let's see. Where? I bet it's China. Yes. 57 million in China. Because this dropped during the pandemic, I don't think it made it to China. So, and they're pretty tight-lipped. And look at this. It played in Russia. In Russia, movie plays with you. And South Korea. Now, China, it definitely didn't sneak into China, I don't think. The character's black, though. So that's interesting that the Chinese embraced it. Seemingly liked it. Russia, weird that we're still... isn't it weird we're still distributing movies in Russia now? We're like kind of at war with Russia, and yet Soul made $21 million there. Over $21 million there. How does that even work? How does that even work? You know, you got the United States going, oh, we're going to crush the Russians. We can't give up on Zelensky, and we kind of keep sending him billions of dollars. And the Russians going, you're going to start World War III. We're going to beat back the offensive, and we're doing fine. Screw you, America. And then Disney shows up and goes, hey, you want to see a movie? And the Russians go, oh, yeah, okay. Like, how does that work? I thought there were all kinds of international sanctions on the Russians. Why does Disney get to distribute a movie there and make $21 million? And why did the Russians pay him? Why didn't the Russians go, aha, thanks? I guess because they wouldn't get more Disney movies anymore. And weren't the Russians really angry at the rainbow people? Don't you think they'd ban Disney just to say, screw you? So it's weird to me that Soul opened in Russia. China, we're in slightly better terms. We're not in an open fighting war with them. We kind of are with Russia. Although the Chinese were talking about the Taiwanese just the other day. And Joe Biden put out a statement. I saw, at least it was a headline on the AP, that the United States no longer recognizes something about Taiwan. It recognizes two Chinas, I guess, something like that. We used to only recognize Taiwan and would tell the communist Chinese, go pound sand. But he reiterated that, no, we're cool with both of them now. But, you know, the Chinese have been talking about invading Taiwan a long time. But while they keep talking that way, it's still okay for them to do business like this? It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense with the rhetoric you hear in the news, right? You hear all this rhetoric, the Chinese, they're doing all these terrible things, and oh my God, they're buying up farmland, they're doing this and that. Oh, we got a new movie, can we send it to them? Oh yeah, sure, go ahead, send it right over. It's weird. But Disney's happy. I mean, it made 119 million. Oh, and it made 11 million in DVD and Blu-ray sales. Apparently that's still happening too. I thought this was mostly done, but that's, you know. So, did it make any money? I don't know what the budget is. That would be close. I don't know. On the one hand, they didn't spend any money advertising this thing here. So, did they spend money advertising it overseas? Did they just put it out and rely on, well, it's another Disney movie that Americans made, so we'll just go see it, it's there? Or did they spend the kind of money they normally do? Interesting. Or did they just say, well, this was a movie you missed, here it is? And why did people go see it in other countries? This seems like a very American movie. It's about I think it's about a jazz musician who dies, and then it's about his afterlife. Something like that. It's odd. The whole thing is odd. Oh, here it is. Joe is a middle school band teacher whose life hasn't quite gone the way expected. His true passion is jazz, and he's good, but when he travels to another realm to help someone find their passion, he soon discovers it means a lot to have soul. No, I don't know what it's about. I thought it was, I guess he's a jazz musician. Somehow he travels to another realm. I thought it was about heaven. I thought he dies. All right. Weird. Anybody see Soul? Oppenheimer? Look at this. They put it back in the theaters. Oh, they're determined to get this thing over $1 billion. They're absolutely 100% determined. 955 million. They're absolutely 100% dedicated to getting it. If they have to keep Oppenheimer in the movie theaters for the next 45 years, they're going to get this over $1 billion, apparently. That's about how long I think it would take at this point. I mean, pretty much everybody but me has seen Oppenheimer. Like, if I send you guys $14, will you just stop? You know, maybe you make it up on streaming or the DVD and Blu-ray. A lot of people will buy it on Blu-ray, I would think, because they're like film heads, right? They like buy Christopher Nolan and big directors they like. Here it is, Zone of Interest. This might be the foreign movie that gets an Oscar nod. $237,000. It's only in 25 theaters. Hasn't even cracked $1 million. But if you want your obscure foreign movie, I think this is it. No way that's money. Takes place during the big war. Wish, somehow still in theaters. It's another, I wish they would just take it out. 223 million. I think we already determined this wasn't money. Yeah, it cost 200 million, so probably not money. Memory, another art house flick in more theaters. Yeah, they must be pushing for an Oscar or something. $288,000 though. No one's seeing this thing. Maybe it'll jack up next week, but The Holdovers still in 100 theaters. 22 million. I don't think this could get an Oscar nod, but maybe for like screenplay or something like that. Costuming. Probably not music because it's all old music. Radical. This friggin' movie. I see this advertised on YouTube almost every single day, and it annoys me. I see the thumbnail and I go, God, when is this over? This is another movie. I feel like they might as well just take two theaters and put Radical in one and Oppenheimer in the other and say, well, those are the movies we only show in those two theaters. See them at your leisure because they're going to be there for the next 45 years. And Selm. I don't know what this movie is. Still don't. Appears to be German. Das Rutschen der Zeit. $1 million. Well, it cracked $1 million. I bet it cost more than that, but okay. And finally, Inshallah a Boy. Huh? Inshallah a Boy? Oh, this is a foreign movie. Inshallah Walad is its actual name. Why would you give it half in, what is that? Is that Farsi or Arabic? And then half in English? Why not just put it all in Arabic or all in English? Inshallah Walad. $6,000. All right, well, this is just starting. It's in one theater. And that's it. That's what made $99 million this week. Whew. Not doing great. This is slightly better than last week's box office, but it's January, February doldrums. Nobody has any money. The last thing anyone wants to do is splurge on a movie or anything else. Money's getting tight, baby. Money's getting tight. So, and these movies are only so meh. I mean, sure, I want to see The Beekeeper, but I don't want to pay $14 for it. The only movie on here that I really want to see, like, is the Godzilla movie. Because I just, everybody I know who saw it says it's just gangbusters. Maybe Oppenheimer, but really just Godzilla at this point. And I don't know. I doubt I'm going to get to the theater in time. It's just a lot of hassle. It's a lot of expense now. And the longer I wait, the more I go, I'll just wait for streaming. I'll watch it on my computer. It'll be fine. I mean, I really wanted to go see No Hard Feelings, and then I didn't. And then it came on streaming, and I saw it for nothing. So that was decent. Decent-ish. All right, moving on to the trades. Boom. Mean Girls rules the school. Here's the new cast. Joyce Randolph, Trixie on the Honeymooners, dies at 99. Wow. Didn't know she was even still alive. That's a pretty good run. I remember that show. I used to watch the reruns. I wasn't old enough to watch it, but back in my day, in the far off 70s and 80s, when things were different, that was our internet. And our internet was flipping through the channels. You had the three main network channels, but then you had these local affiliates that all they showed practically were reruns. And then they would get different shows, and they would always be classics like the Honeymooners or whatever that have been on TV forever, and they would just run them to death. And depending on when my dinner time was, or lunchtime, or when I got home from school, if it coordinated well with me, like arriving home and saying, I need to chill out for a half hour, there'd be nothing else on TV, and I'd eventually flip to the local affiliates and find a rerun TV show that I liked, and I'd watch it every week, every day. So you could burn through an entire season of shows in well, these shows ran a lot longer, but yeah, usually in a few weeks you'd burn through them because they were on every day, sometimes twice a day. At one point, The Simpsons were on twice a day on my local affiliate on Fox right at dinner time, and I would watch both episodes, and they would just run them in order. So when you got to, oh my God, I just saw this episode, then next week it would be, oh, it's Santa's Little Helper again. Here we go. Which was always kind of funny because then, and if you missed a couple of days, you're like, oh man, I missed the one episode I missed. But Honeymooners was okay. It was kind of the same show over and over again, but Disney NFL in talks that could give League ESPN stake, put NFL media under Disney. Okay, so goodbye to football. Yeah, had a nice run. I guess what's her name? Taylor Swift ain't going away anytime soon if that happens. JC, there were only 39 episodes of The Honeymooners. Really? Huh. Thought there were more than that. God, there's way more of the Bob Newhart show, the old one. Way more then. Huh. I guess that's because that was a really early days of television, I guess. 39 episodes, huh? There's more Star Trek episodes than that. The best all-time episode was, there's an episode where, it was about a bus driver and his wacky friend, played by Art Carney, was his wacky friend, and Jackie Gleason was the bus driver. And so Art Carney could play piano, and so they did an episode where they were going on Name That Tune, which was a famous game show. I think it's kind of still around in some form. But anyhow, you had to name different songs. Simpsons reruns, says JEC, ran as many as 6 times in an evening at different channels growing up. Wow. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Joe Coy was terrible. Hello, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Cringe. All right, we'll get to Joe Coy in a minute. Just let me quick finish this story. So, you have to name the song. They play you some of the bars and then you name the song. So, Art Carney is helping his buddy Jackie Gleason study for the game show, and he's playing all the songs because he can play piano, and he starts every single song with ba-dum ba-dum bum bum bump, and then he plays the song, and eventually, of course, he drives Jackie Gleason crazy, and Jackie Gleason's like, stop playing that, and of course Jackie gets to the final round and they go, name that tune. And the tune is ba-dum, ba-dum, bump, bump, bump. And he blows it. So, the greatest. The greatest. You're never going to see the show unless you go buy the DVD, I guess. But I just ruined it for you. Oh, here we go. Joe Coy. There we go. Mocks soft celeb crowd after bombing Globe's hosting gig. Yeah. First he blamed the writers, it seemed. Then he came out and said, well, that was a rookie move. Yeah, it was a huge rookie move. You don't blame the writers. You don't have to say they're jokes. You're a professional comedian. You could have literally said, I'm not doing any of those jokes. Or you could have got on stage and, as the teleprompter's going by with the jokes you hate, you could have said, you know what, I'm not going to do those. And then just done whatever jokes came to mind. Part of it is, I don't know if it's him in terms of his skills. I really haven't seen a lot of Joe Coy stand-up, but I think it was the gig from hell. I don't think anyone should have taken this gig. I don't think anybody would have been good on it other than Ricky Gervais. Because Ricky Gervais would have stomped in and, ripped everybody a new a-hole, right? Maybe Dave Chappelle would have made something of it, but I don't think he'd take it in a million years. But Ricky would. Ricky would go back to destroy everybody. And I would have tuned in. I would have watched every second of it, and it would have been amazing. He's trying not to do that. I don't think there's any way you can make that happen. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, again, but MSNBC is afraid of Ricky. Yeah. They are. It's a shame. Sorry, I can never read. The one word agree, but MSM is afraid of Ricky. Oh, okay. Sorry, there's like a logo on mainstream media. Yes, yes. Yeah, they just decided to, they have lists now. See, when people talk about America going communist, this is the way America goes communist. There are people with acceptable views, and they're propped up by the establishment, and then people with unacceptable views, and they are oppressed. That is the equivalent. That is the American equivalent of, like, list. List of good people and bad people. Oh, see these people? They're good. Let them, do whatever they want. Oh, see these bad people? They're bad. If they even look at you sideways, arrest them and make their life a living hell. That's the way it works now, unfortunately. Fortunately, though, there still is some recourse for that if you're wrong, but you have to go through a bunch of BS in court in order to get any kind of satisfaction, I think. Shane Gillis would have been amazing, LOL. Yeah, I don't think they were going to pick Shane Gillis either. Matthew Rife would have been good. I don't think they would have picked him. He's a little too young. And they're probably mildly afraid of him. Kevin Hart would have been okay. Like, Kevin Hart wouldn't have been great, but he would not have gotten into this trouble because everybody kind of likes him. And he wouldn't have. Like a lot of comics, if they get into trouble, they end up attacking the audience. It's kind of a, I don't know, it's kind of a reflex action. It always goes badly, though. I've never seen it work. You can't attack the audience because they've turned on you. That's the worst possible thing you can do. I was in a stand-up, not in the show, but like in the audience when I saw a comic have that kind of meltdown, and it was, man, it's so uncomfortable. Jim Gaffigan was there. He could have done it. I don't know. Could he have resisted the temptation to get political? I don't know if he could have. Maybe. He might have been okay. He might have been a safe bet if he had stayed, away from that. You're right. Thank you. Yeah, like, there's a handful of comics that can do this. But ultimately, like, who cares about the Golden Globes? I mean, the whole night is cringe. They should just cancel it or make it cool, right? Like, one way to make it cool is to completely revamp it, Say, okay, we're not going to be the Golden Globes that does suits and tuxedos and dresses. We're going to be the Golden Globes that everybody shows up and skateboards in, and it's like the X Games. Or we're going to be the Golden Globes where it's like a beach party, and then we give stupid awards for dumb things on top of the regular things we give awards for. Like, closer to what the MTV Awards were, like, way back in the day when they were kind of fun and hip. Something like that. Or you go really crazy with some sort of scientific way for each award. Maybe you make people at home vote, and that's all you do. So you take the votes from home. That would be amazing because the votes would go crazy ways. But you don't give the audiences any choices you don't want them to have. So if you got to pick best comedian or whatever, you only give them the choices you want them to win. You don't give them any write-ins. Oh, they could have made AI write everyone's scripts. Now that would have been funny. That would have been funny if he read nothing but AI jokes. Would have been like Funny Bot. JC, make it like the MET Gala, the Met Gala, and have them dress up like freaks. Yeah, maybe that. At this point, I don't know where they have to go because they're trying to be the Oscars, but they're not the Oscars. They're trying to be the Emmys. They're not the Emmys. Like, they're not even the Emmys. They're not even the Grammys. What are they? Like, we already have the Oscars, the Emmys, the Grammys. You know, that's it. We have like 19 million comic book awards places, but they don't get to be on TV. Like, there's nothing different in this. It's just the Oscars slash Emmys 2.0. That's all it is. It's the Oscars and the Emmys together. You could argue, like, okay, shut down the Oscars and the Emmys and just do this, but nobody's going to do that. The Oscars at least has the cachet of the past. The Golden Globes has never really been cool, in my view. Rebrand it the Golden Globes, not even the Oscars. That's tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Nice. Nice. Yeah. The Golden Globes. We're trying not to offend you. The Golden Globes. There's nothing else to watch. The Golden Globes. We're now Joe Coy free. The Golden Globes. At least Ricky Gervais isn't here to ruin everybody's good time. No, the only way to save face would have been to bring Ricky back and let him just run amok every single time. Until that got tiresome, or until, until celebrities refused to show up. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Joe Coy free. That's great. This is the problem with Hollywood. I mean, there used to be... First off, these award shows were never that important. The Oscars weren't that important. The Golden Globes certainly weren't important. The Emmys were like nothing. Grammys were a joke. And now they're so important because I guess the studios have decided there's too much money behind it. We have to win these awards. And so they do everything they can to win, but that to me has undermined the credibility of the awards in the first place, what little they had. They didn't have a tremendous amount of credibility, but if something won an Oscar, you'd be like, oh, wow, maybe I'll go see that movie. I hear it won an Oscar. Now, like, who cares? My older relatives say that still. But the average person, the average young person, do they even know what the Oscars are? Do they care? I don't think so. So there's no credibility to them. The MTV Awards have, had slight credibility right at the beginning because they were essentially a parody of award shows. But now, like, every year they announce the winners, and I go, they're still doing that? Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Literally no one cares. Exactly. So what you could do is combine all the award shows, do something like that. At least if you had only one award show, then maybe it would hold some level of credibility because you would do it one time and that would be it. Like, how many, like, what are we going to do? One of these every month? It doesn't make any sense. You've got, like, I can list 10 off the top of my head. That's too many. That includes DGA, PGA, Writers Guild Awards, Actor Guild Awards. Who can't? That's all industry stuff. It doesn't need to be televised. The Cable Ace Awards really doesn't need to be anything. Now they've got video game awards. We have comic book awards. You've probably never heard of any of them, although JEC probably knows them all. There's the Eisners, the Ignats, and there's at least 2 or 3 others. That's just for comic books. That's too many. Too many. So it's too many for comics, too many for TV, too many. Music kind of doesn't have a lot of them, but kind of no one cared about the Grammys ever, really. They were always kind of a joke because the radio or the record industry was always considered so corrupt. No one even considered them to be very credible, in my view. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. I think you're actually on to something. No one cares, and there are too many awards. This might have driven a lot of the woke posturing to make the awards mean something. Yeah. Or at least if you really wanted to do some woke posturing, what the Golden Globes could have done would be change the awards to Most Diverse Television Show of 2024. Most Inclusive TV Series. Like, yeah, why don't you go full bore? I bet you won't, because then you'll really kill the ratings. Ha, yes, says tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Um, but yeah, no one cares about these awards, I think, except the people maybe in the room. And even those got, I mean, like, imagine you're like, I don't know, one of these famous actors who's already won a ton of these awards. Like, why do you even care? You have to go, I guess, because all your friends are there. But, like, Robert De Niro. What does Robert De Niro care about any of these awards at this point? He's been to the Oscars like a million times. Does he even go to this? Let's see. Oh, France's new culture minister, Rashida Dati, makes a splash in film industry, welcoming vitriolic criticism. My great weapon is combativeness. Yeah, we need a lot more of that. Have you heard of the internet? Did you hear any of my stream like about 40 minutes ago when I was talking about EVS with JEC? Reddit CEO Steve Huffman takes on big tech and AI for ad revenue. Don't know how that's going to go. Does Reddit have any ads on them? I don't. Reddit is such, to me, a dead site. That used to be a great site, by the way. Oh man, I used to advertise my comics on that site. Boom, I would get hundreds of hits, and it was awesome. Now, it's just, to me, it's just full of commies. Every subreddit has just been taken over one after another. You know, one time I was in the libertarian subreddit for a long time, and then that got taken over. I don't know if they were communists or what their deal was, but it was very whacked out. Very whacked out. All right, moving on. Fandom Pulse. Dungeons & Dragons Forgotten Realms creator Ed Greenwood vows to cancel Mitpig Mob after getting attacked for supporting an indie comic. Uh-oh. Don't like the sound of that. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Back to your De Niro comment. Supposedly he whined like a baby about how his speech was edited. Oh yeah, without his consent at the Gotham Awards. Yeah. Also, what the F are the Gotham Awards? Yeah, good question. I guess they're New York Film Awards? I don't know. John Adams. Reddit died when they got rid of the third-party app API access. Yeah. I mean, I don't know when that was. It just seemed like after a while I couldn't post there without getting blasted by some college kids who would read me the riot act. And the only thing that saved me was I had been on Reddit so long and my karma was so high. People were kind of afraid of going too hard at me, so they'd always back off if I just ignored them. So, tomorrow agrees, John Adams. So what? Guess what independent comics Ed Greenwood supported that I guess he had to recant? I'm gonna guess it was. Could it have been a fantasy? It could have been a fantasy comic. I'm gonna guess it's something other than the comics we were talking about earlier, like Eric July or anything. I don't think it would be that easy. I think it's probably some obscure comic. He came under fire from a woke cancel pig mob this weekend after retweeting Indiegogo projects from Ryan Word Nerd Palmer, Hayvard Saints 8. Okay. The fantasy writer caved to the mob after receiving backlash for supporting an indie creator with only 32 backers over this writing, making a new low for blacklisting behavior. Why? Why did he do that? Why did they even care? It's weird. Hayvard Saints 8. I don't know. Looks perfectly fine. This spurred amongst the woke cancel pig mob because the tweet Palmer used to promote this project said, "Back us. This book we wanted instead of snowflakes safe space, instead of bisexuality, X-Men, or cat and bat soap operas. For every disappointing gimmick, a chain of letdowns. This is what we expected from the best, but it's from us, for us." And for that, they canceled them? That's pathetic. Ed shouldn't have backed down. John Adams, that's unfortunate. I liked Ed Greenwood in interviews. I think he made a mistake there. But he's an older guy. Like, did he know? But Ghostbuster Frozen Empire promises deeper connection from two original films than Afterlife. Well, Annie Potts is in it, so maybe. Sex-confused Kristen Stewart, who cucked Robert Pattinson, turned on by glorification of lesbian degeneracy and queer love lies bleeding. To me, I don't care about the lesbian angle in this movie. It just doesn't look like a good movie. It just the trailer was kind of all over the place. It doesn't really make clear what's going on. I guess it's a lesbian thing, but it just seems not great. And now they're touting this as some sort of victory for the rainbow community, I guess. Is she? I don't think she's gay, though, right? I don't think she is. Tomorrow, throw up emoji. Yeah, I don't know what this is. It just seems... Ed Harris is in it. Seems like it's a low-level gangster movie. But I said in my trailer analysis, Kristen Stewart isn't bad looking, but just like everyone else in Hollywood, they get me a beautiful woman. Okay, now give her a mullet and give her terrible clothes from the early '80s. Why'd you hire her then? Why not just I don't know, cast somebody who already looks that way? It's weird. It's weird what they do in Hollywood. It's like they cast people, and this was my argument with the David Duchovny trailer. David Duchovny has always played a guy who wore a suit or wore nice clothes. His main two characters are the Fox Mulder, FBI agent, always in a suit, or the guy from Californication who didn't always wear a suit, but was always he's always wearing kind of nightclubby type clothes. And that's the kind of actor he is. He plays those roles. So then they try to put him in a movie where he's supposed to be like an ex-con, and they give him tattoos on his chest and he's got no shirt on. It just looks like David Duchovny. It just looks like Fox Mulder undercover. It doesn't look real to me. It just looks meh. Kristen Stewart's kind of the same thing. She's not super good looking. She is a decent actress, and she can look really hot when she wants to, but then she's constantly dressing herself down now, it seems. And I get, to some extent, when you've got a really hot actress, she wants to dress down because otherwise you won't take her seriously in terms of her acting. But this seems like they're really going out of her way to do that. Echo dropped. There was a lot of drama for that this week. Tomorrow. Would you say the same thing about Bruce Willis? Die Hard, moonlighting over and over and over? Yeah. I mean, Bruce Willis was never going to do really a drama where he played, some guy with a disability who's dying and has cancer and his family's falling apart. Those roles weren't him. He always played a cop, a funny guy, a guy who was, in the old days he was more funny, or he usually played a cop or a guy who got stuff done, shot dudes in the face. There's different ways you can manage your career, but when you've gone so far down the path, you leave a groove in Hollywood where your lane is, right? You can't just... De Niro was different. De Niro, started in films that were critically acclaimed, and, one after another he was in. He was considered the actor's actor back in the day. Now he's not really... He's kind of tarnished that image because he's been in a bunch of clunkers and some stuff that back in the day would have been totally beneath him. Like, wasn't he in like Bad Grandpa with like Zac Efron? Like, totally beneath him, like 30, 40 years ago. These days, like, I guess he just doesn't care at this point. Tomorrow. I agree. He also couldn't carry a comedy without the action. Yeah, he wasn't a comedian, but he could be funny. And then people claim that he was hard to work with, but those claims I think came late in his career, and it may have been a result of his growing dementia, because he was doing movies well into that, it seemed. So he may have just gotten frustrated with people, and he was also the biggest star in Hollywood. Do you know how big Bruce Willis was? It was Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, who else? That was about it. I mean, and then everybody else, really. He was in the biggest movies ever. You know, Die Hard was just a monster hit. Moonlighting was a monster hit, and then Die Hard made him a giant movie star. He could be in anything he wanted. Tomorrow. Harrison Ford, yeah, at times, yeah. Harrison Ford was weird because, to me, there was his initial phase with Star Wars. He didn't seem to be in that many movies in his prime. He was in like Star Wars, The Cisco Kid, Force 10 from Navarone. He did work pretty steadily, I guess. I mean, I looked at the IMDb last time, but there seemed to be a point at which, and he was his own agent for many, many years. And then he apparently signed for an agency for the first time, and that's when he was in Hollywood Homicide, which I hear is just a stinker of a movie. And that, to me, started Harrison Ford's tarnish, right? Like, that's when it was like, oh, you're in Hollywood Homicide, dude? Like, that's the movie you picked for comedy? Oof. I think it was embarrassing, is the vibe I get from the movie. I mean, I've seen the trailer. It looked dumb. And it looked beneath him. You know, after the guy was Air Force One and Witness and Star Wars and everything, Blade Runner. There you go, John. You just have to go, why this? But he wasn't considered like Oscar actor guy, right? Neither was Willis. Like, De Niro was the Oscar actor guy, and those guys were just big box office guys. So, but like Kristen Stewart, I guess she's just trying different things. And this is the kind of woke stuff they want her to do. But she can always walk away from it and go, oh, well, you know, it's just a role I play. Now I'm in trad wife movies all the time. And, you know, she could end her career doing Hallmark movies. Who the hell knows? Hollywood sacrifices Madam Web, starring Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, and Celeste O'Connor at the altar of diversity and girl power. I'll say, man, watch the trailer for this if you want to see something you're not going to see. This is like Spider-Man meets girl power. It's crazy. That I don't know who they think is going to see this thing. Released near Valentine's Day. Who is that for? Who is that for? Hey, honey, what do you want to do for Valentine's Day? Oh, I want to go see Madam Web. I want to see a bunch of girl bosses run around and pretend to be Spider-Man, but they'll be in skin-tight uniforms, so that'll be good for you, honey. Like, what? Who wants to see this? Do they have a still for this? They gotta have a still, right? Nah, different. There's her. That's another character. Yeah, these are the girls. They all get different uniforms. They don't have the uniforms in this one, but they're all smoking hot. Each one's a total smoke show. And then later in the movie, they all have, like, you know, superpowers and superhero suits. Who is this for? You're telling me girls are going to go see this? You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. The list of women who would see this movie is very, very short. There's a handful of fangirls out there. Yeah, they'll go see the movie. They probably will think, Oh, that was okay. Really wanted to see Peter Parker and Spider-Man, but that was all right, I guess. That is about the best you can hope for. They still don't get it. Hollywood has never understood comics. In 2008, I was out in LA pitching my comics, and you could not tell these guys anything. I would tell them over and over again, this is how it works. The fans love a character. They love the backstory of the character that's in the comic. These guys wouldn't even read the comic. They literally wouldn't read the comic. I had my own ideas pitched back to me in the middle of a meeting. Like, what if we did this? That's already in the comic. You haven't read the comic, have you? No, 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 I read it. What if we did this? That's in the comic too. Literally, that was, I'm paraphrasing, but that was kind of the conversation. It was infuriating. And they, to this day, I don't think they've learned a damn thing. They still think, oh no, they'll watch it. They're comic fans, right? Yeah, they go, yeah, everybody goes to this stuff. It's kind of what they do with every trend, though. It's like, oh, yeah, you know, when cowboy movies were, it's a cowboy movie. Ah, everybody go. No. Eventually people get sick of this stuff, or you put so little effort into it, and people can obviously see, I think, anyone who's had any connection to comics that took one look at this would be like, yeah, that's not Madam Web. What is this? No one. I just went to a comic book convention. You know what nobody talked about most of the time I was there? Comic books. Yeah, it was a comic book convention. Almost no one talked about comics. They gave away comics. They gave away a Thundercats comic. I don't know who had them or why they were giving them away. People seemed excited about that, not because it was a comic, but because it was on television. You all right, John? Anyhow, what time is it? Moving on. Hollywood Reporter. Sorry, I'm looking at the time only because I think I have to go to the bathroom again, but I'm going to try to tough it out. Succession star Sarah Snook says producer told her to stop eating cake. The Emmy nominee recalls being mistreated on set by a movie producer in front of the cast and crew. All the while, I am dying inside. Oh my God. Oh my God, this poor woman. Look, that's not nice what he did. I freely admit that he's a jerk for doing that on set. But it's not the end of the world. You know? Yeah, he's a jerk. A lot of these guys are jerks. They are jerks. You're not going to make them not jerks with your HR complaints or whatever. You know, he should not talk that way. And the studio should probably come down on him and say, hey, don't talk to the actors that way. You're going to give her a complex. It's certainly not going to help. But, I mean, you see how it is. It's like, oh my God. Poor me. Too bad she didn't die outside. Just kidding. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, you're just kidding. Nev Campbell on returning to Scream amid franchise fallout. I would not be surprised to get a call. That sounds like she wants to get a call, but fine, whatever. Sopranos boss David Chase says TV's getting dumb again. Something is dying. Television is dying. I don't know. I have a friend. He's getting rid of his TV. He's older than me. And he loves TV. People are done. It's too expensive, number one. Everything's streaming. Everything's on the internet. Everything's a, a la carte deal. You can't, it's just too expensive for what you get and for how much you watch it. Everybody's strapped for cash. So, running around going, oh, I gotta make some cuts somewhere. Television is number one. I wouldn't pay for these streaming services. I wouldn't pay for them. I got two of them. They're free. The moment they try to charge me, I'm out. I'm out. I'll be out so fast. I've got like two more I don't think I've hooked up. Creature from the Black Lagoon comic book coming from Robert Kirkman's Skybound Entertainment. Well, that could be fun-ish, I guess. I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing. Nuts. I can't wait. I have to go again. I'm so sorry. Joan, come on. You have to entertain the troops. Go ahead. Entertain the troops one more time. Jeez. Thank you, Joe. Hope you entertained everybody. Sorry about that. I just couldn't wait. All right. Creature from the Black Lagoon. Okay. Over at Bounding into Comics, Paramount Pictures reportedly greenlights third Top Gun. John Adams. I may be called vindictive, but I backed the comic that Ed Greenwood denounced. I know nothing about it beyond that. Good for you, John Adams. Yeah, I'm very tempted to do that myself. But, long story. I got my own issues, so to speak, with cash. Paramount Pictures reportedly greenlights third Top Gun movie from Maverick co-writer Tom Cruise yet to sign on. Now, see, I heard differently. Tom Cruise already signed on to Warner Brothers. He's got an office. They already got what I heard was they already got Miles Teller and Glenn Powell. I'd be shocked if they don't have Tom Cruise in this. They got to be working out the money. Desperate for viewers, Netflix The Witcher cast Lawrence Fishburne as race swap version of vampire Emilia Regis. Emile Regis? Yeah. I don't know why they're spending money on The Witcher. That seems like a really desperate move. I mean, I like Lawrence Fishburne. I think he's a good actor. But you're going to double and triple down on the race swapping. You're already in trouble with The Witcher from the audience that you essentially screwed by driving out Henry Cavill. It seems. Now you're going to do another move like that. Seems like a very dumb thing to do. Seems very desperate. John Cena teases prospect of Peacemaker Season 2 as show's creative force James Gunn provides an update. I am not supportive of John Cena after his weird apology to China. I felt that was a bit much. Here, Joe. After he did that, I was just like, I'm not supporting this guy anymore. So I haven't seen any of Peacemaker. I didn't even do a trailer analysis on it. I don't want to give it any air. So I hope it's not renewed. I hope they just drop it. I think it's likely they will, only because the DCU seems to be in full reset mode. Why would you keep this? He's got connections to the Suicide Squad that you have to probably recast too. You might as well just do the hard reset, get rid of everybody, recast him as someone else or whatever. Oh, and Amazon announced a round of several hundred job cuts across Prime, Video, MGM Studios, and Twitch, which no one is shocked about at all, I think, other than maybe the people getting fired. The shocking thing to me is that it took this long to happen. Like, why did you wait until now to finally cut these jobs. Why are you doing season 2 of Rings of Power? That's the real question. Why even do it? You spent $1 billion on that first season. It didn't seem to do you a damn bit of good. And now you're going to do a second season? How are you going to... You got to regulate the money. $1 billion. I can't imagine. The only thing I can think of is Amazon made so much money, they just didn't care. They just didn't care. They need the tax write-off, and they did the math ahead of time and said, even if we lose every single penny, it'll be fine. In fact, maybe they wanted to lose every single penny. Maybe it was all to get ESG and a massive tax write-off that no one's ever seen before. Possibly. Over Deadline. Leonardo DiCaprio on Unlocking the Dark Truths and More in Killers of a Flower Moon. They will not stop talking about this movie. Again, my theory is the studios buy space in these publications and say, we want articles on this movie, that movie, and this movie over the next couple of months and weeks because we need it for Oscar seasons. We need people to be talking about these movies. And they purchase them way in advance, regardless, heedless of what the movie actually did. And so these articles just keep coming out. Either that or these people are actually that clueless and they're in Hollywood talking about this movie because it's already in the pipeline for an Oscar or whatever. Tomorrow. Forgive me, Tony, if you already talked about the creation of a conservative alternate Hollywood, maybe another time, but I would love to know your opinion. Oh, I could talk about that. Sure. I think the Daily Wire has done that to an extent. Seems to be working. Who else has done it? There's like a couple other guys trying to do it. Mark Wahlberg looked like he was doing it for a hot 10 minutes, and I don't know, he seems to have backed off. Angel Studios has kind of done that in its own weird way. It's just taken a lot longer, I think. It's going to be a few more years of that before, somebody's going to need to come out with such a mega hit. And they've basically had a few pretty big hits. I mean, Sound of Freedom was a decent hit. I don't know if Angel Studios will be able to weather what comes after that. Because if Hollywood decides they're a real threat, they'll do everything in their power, I think, to make sure they're squashed. Because they don't want any competition. However, if they're just, blindly committed to the woke rabbit hole and just keep going down it, I think it's inevitable that these other studios will rise up and keep eating the market share. One of the movies that I'm anxious to see come out would be the Daily Wire's Snow White, because they're making a more traditional Snow White up against the big Disney Snow White. I'm not sure when that's supposed to come out, either one of them. Tomorrow. Sound of Freedom was great. I hope they keep going. I think they will. They did another movie called Shift and a bunch of other Angel Studios movie. Now that they have real money, the question is, will they be smart enough to spend it on something that makes real financial sense? Because, the problem is there is a real niche that hasn't been filled, but some of that stuff was like, action movies. For instance, I was saying to my friend the other day, Frank Grillo seems to be in like a lot of movies, and I don't know how he does it. And then my friend said, I think he's either rich or is in with some rich guys who are just making these B movies, and he's just in all of them. So that is sort of filling the gap in with some of the action movies. But ultimately, the actual theaters are part of the problem, because you can see from the box office list I went down, a lot of those B movies aren't even making it in, and they're not really being ranked. Some of them are. But, movies come out literally every day. Now, right up until between Christmas and New Year's, it got a little wonky, and during the strike, it got a little wonky. But every day, as you know, I check for trailers, and more often than not, there are anywhere from 2 to 6 movie trailers, and that's just the ones I find from American companies. And then there are more from, Bollywood, and other countries. There are just so many movies being produced. They're all going to streaming, unfortunately. Like, these theaters aren't growing. And they're not showing, like, to me, these theaters should probably be alternating their deal and saying, like, well, on Tuesday nights, like, which is a slow night for movies, there's a 2-for-1 night. See 2 movies for 1 price. That could be appealing, right? You go to the movie theater, you see a movie, and then, hey, I'm going to see my second movie. And they go, yeah, right over there. There's some more movies over there. And then you could, mix it up with some of these other movies. Rather than showing, like, a mega hit or a big movie like Killers of a Flower Moon on 3 screens. I think the only reason they would do that, though, is because the movie's so damn long. John Adams, my understanding is that Angel Studios has a unique backing system for picking which movies they fund. I don't know what that means. Upfront sales. Yeah, I don't know. Is it it might be crowdfunded, maybe. But that's, see, the old days was like the guys who would pick these movies. Tomorrow. Yeah, the Maestro thing was weird. Like, go to the theater or just stream it. Do we have number of what people mostly did? Yeah, it's hard to know what the streaming numbers are. There are a couple of places that have some data, but ultimately, when I wrote Hollywoke, another novel, part of the plot of the book has to do with streaming and how no one really knows what the numbers are, because you've got guys in an IT department doing their thing, and they could do whatever they want. They're not regulated, they're not licensed, there's no outside force watching these guys. So there are stories, and some of this came out, that some of the streaming service were counting people on the streaming service who had been offered a free streaming service. Like, I got Max for free when I bought my phone, but like they never even activated it, never even went to the site, but they were counted as a subscriber. Other people who got free deals were counted as a subscriber. People who had a subscription but then didn't pay it or never even watched it were counted. So who knows what the real numbers are on the streaming end. They're only looking at the bottom line, which is the number of paid subscribers, which, you got to look at it this way. If you've got, 10 million subscribers, let's say, and they all pay you $12 a month for your streaming service, that's $120 million. Then you have to pay everybody who works at the streaming service, and you have to make some movies with that $120 million. But I think a lot of these guys are making more, they're taking that $120 million, but they're spending like $400 million on making movies and TV shows. Tomorrow. Wow, that's crazy. John Adams, Angel Studios has a voting system where their members, clients, submit trailers and movies from the members to vote on which to fund. I'm not part of it, but that's what I've heard described. Huh. I guess you have to be like a member or a backer. It sounds very much like crowdfunding. I guess that's why a lot of religious movies get in. Because they seem to do a lot of that. Huh. Interesting. So I guess you got to make a trailer and get in there, and then maybe they give you the thumbs up and give you a bunch of money, or they say, no, sorry. Oh, here's an interesting article. Greg Daniels opening development room to explore new series ideas. He's one of the Office guys, I think, because The Office. Yeah. The Office, Greg Daniels, opening development room to explore series ideas. The long-awaited expansion of the Office universe appears to be getting closer to becoming a reality. Okay. It's weird. It seems so late to do that. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow at John Adams. That is so cool. Regarding Angel Studios. It seems very late to do the Office expansion. They did try to do. One of the episodes of The Office was actually, I think, part of the pilot for a Dwight series or Dwight Schrute spinoff that didn't materialize. There were rumors of a Stanley spinoff, and I don't know. I think it's just too long a period of time. There was another rumor of like it was going to be like Stanley, Kevin, and one other character. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, Ricky Gervais must be pissed about this development. I don't know. He might still be getting paid partly. But it depends on if he sold it off or whatever. It's hard to be pissed when you're rich, I would think. You know, when you've got so much money, you can do whatever the hell you want creatively. I long for that wonderful time. Oh, here's another awards. Critics' Choice Awards. I know you love those. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. True. Another award show. Just what we need. So, apparently that's going on now. Yeah, here's the NFL in talks with ESPN. I mean, you're never going to get rid of Taylor Swift now. They're going to try, I think they're going to try to make the NFL for women. I really think they are. I think Taylor Swift being there is part of it. What is... Yeah. I hate these articles. How to watch the Critics' Choice Awards online and on TV. I hate when they put articles like that. How to think about this. How to watch this. I don't need you to tell me how to do anything. Magazine. The twinkification of the NFL, says tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. It's weird. But not surprising. Here's, here you go. Box office surprise, Sound of Freedom just surpassed The Godfather. Well, you're talking straight up numbers. The Godfather was 1972, so... Sound of Freedom, $250 million in global box office, has allowed it to surpass the timeless classic The Godfather with the current total of $184 million. Okay, that's, you know, I'm glad The Sound of Freedom did well, but I think you're comparing apples and oranges at this point. Alan Ritchson responds to other Christians criticizing his Reacher character. I don't know about Reacher being so morally ambiguous. He seems pretty straightforward. You know, he seems... I like the show. I don't think the second season is as good as the first, though. There is some drop-off in quality. I think it's partly because of the story, maybe partly because of the team they have. But, again, just like Eric July's stuff that I talked about with Isom, it can be saved. It can be saved by the ending. By the ending of this season, it could be so... It could all come together, and then I'd be like, oh, that's fine. That ended really strong. You got to end strong, I think, in stuff like this. Whether it's a TV show or a movie, end strong. End strong. You know, the you got to start strong and end strong. The middle can sag a little bit, because once people are invested, they're kind of like, well, I'm gonna tough it out. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Mike Servino Mira Servino, played the wife. They need to put him front and center. Checking in with the wrap. Probably not much here. Stuff about politics, which doesn't belong in the wrap. Here's a Bernie Sanders article. a Joe Manchin article, Chuck Todd article about the caucuses. Yeah, the wrap. TV, film, awards, events, pro, columns, videos, more. Yeah, and the more is seems to be politics, politics, politics. Finally, a cosmic book news. Oh, here's another movie that probably shouldn't have been put in the queue. Is Marvel is fixing the Sentry following Steven Yeun's exit. I don't think they should be doing this character at all. I don't think he's popular enough to warrant anything, but that's never stopped Marvel before, apparently. So Steven Yeun was rumored to be the Sentry, and now they're going to recast him. It's like, are they going to cast? I mean, just cast a long-haired blonde guy. I mean, if you're going to cast him at all. But at this point, who cares? They've race swapped and gender swapped half the characters in the Marvel universe at this point. I don't even care. I'm not going to go see the Sentry. You're like, you've gone from scraping the bottom of the barrel to like digging down underneath it at this point with these characters. And there's still other characters that I don't understand why they haven't shown up, you know? But who knows? The Beekeeper review, John Wick on steroids. It sounds like you like it, but I don't know. Here's Rob Lowe tells Robert Downey Jr. Marvel effed up everything. That was on his podcast. It was earlier in the week. Oh, a bit of good news, but it's hard to know if this is going to make a difference at all. Born Again, Daredevil Born Again, bringing back Deborah Ann Woll and Eldon Henson, who played two of the characters on the Netflix Daredevil series. Foggy Nelson, and I forget the name of the woman. They were both out, and now they're back in, which is a good sign, but I don't know. They haven't brought back, I don't think they brought back the original guys who ran it, which seems to be the way to go. If you wanted the old Daredevil, I think you're going to get some sort of halfway measure where these characters come back. They hope to appease the fans. They try to make it like the gritty old Daredevil, but it just doesn't live up to it, is my prediction. And then it'll go woke from there. It'll still be woke. It'll just be way more subtle. Like, they're going to pull way back on it at first. There's not going to be any woke stuff in, like, the first 2 episodes. Then once they get people to watch it, it'll start creeping in. And by the end of it, it'll be, like, Daredevil handling court cases in which somebody misgendered another person. Oh, Your Honor, my client's been misgendered. We need to sue for $20 billion. That's what I predict will be Daredevil eventually. If Echo's any indication. But Echo, I thought Echo was the show they said they reshot every single episode twice because they weren't happy with the first version, and then they shot the entire thing again and they still weren't happy with it, so they shelved it. But then the strike happened and they had nothing else to put on Disney Plus, so they brought it out off the shelf and said, well, we're going to run it now. And now they're kind of stuck with it, I guess, because I guess they're just filling in the gap. But Wonder Man is not canceled and is now filming for some reason. This actor, I don't think he's bad, but I don't think this is the right role for him. This is a race swapped Wonder Man. I don't think he's right for it. He just doesn't have the right look. I mean, Wonder Man was a movie star guy. That was his whole deal. He was an actor. He looked like a bodybuilder. This guy's in shape, but he doesn't look like a bodybuilder to me. So, again, I don't know what you're doing, Marvel, but I don't care. Do what you want. Screw it all up. Who cares? You're not getting any more of my money. I don't think. Unless you somehow steal it from the government at this point. Clint Miller's here. Misgendering gets the death penalty. Thank you, Your Honor. Justice has been served. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes release date moves up 2 weeks. For those of you into that, I still don't get. I never understood the popularity of Planet of the Apes, and I say that as a old school Planet of the Apes guy. I watched the first movie and loved it. I watched every sequel after that and thought, what happened. Then I watched it when I was a kid. I watched the TV show mainly because it was popular. Not so much I wanted to see it. It was kind of just on. My friends all watched it, so I said, I'll watch it, I guess. I didn't really watch it religiously. It didn't seem to be the topic of conversation, but there was a TV show. Go figure. And it kind of, the continuity of that old series, the old franchise did make sense. Then they revamped it, and gosh darn it, that Mark Wahlberg, Tim Burton fiasco was the worst, one of the worst things I've ever seen. God, that was awful. Then they did the James Franco movie. You know, I didn't even see it, but I've seen like enough of it to know that, yeah, it was a lot better, but I don't know, people loved it. Now, I don't know, what are we into the fifth movie? Like, how many times are we going to do this? This is what I mean about Hollywood. They just keep digging up the past. Oh, we own that. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, we don't have to pay somebody to create this. Yeah, we got to pay a screenwriter, but he only gets so much money. So, and there's Annie Patch suiting up for the Ghostbusters, and that's it. I think that's it. You know? All right. Let's wrap it here. Because although I don't have to go to the bathroom anymore, final thoughts. What did we learn this week? Well, not much has changed in Hollywood. The box office was slightly better, but not great. The usual stuff is still going on. They're still race swapping people. They're still destroying IPs while bringing some back. There's too many award shows. We definitely learned that, but we kind of knew all this stuff. Going into it. We talked about, EVS and the various dramas going on in the comic book world. Again, I try to stay out of that. I don't even know half the stuff that's going on. So much of it is going on. I mean, when EVS does a 3-hour stream, you know, and good for him, he's making money or whatever, but I just can't. I can't listen to that and try to pick through what's true, what's not true. It's just exhausting at this point. And Clint Miller, why am I the only one hearing women in the potential Trump running mates? No, I've heard that. Carrie Lake, Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem's kind of at the top of the list, I think. Nikki Haley was in the mix for like a week until Trump shot it down, but I think that was like more of a astroturfing of Nikki Haley trying to get Trump to take the bait, but I don't think he would. Who else? I think there was maybe one other woman. John Adams, I'm not sure what EVS even is. Oh, sorry, Ethan Van Sciver. Yeah, Ethan Van Sciver of Cyberfrog. We were talking about comic books earlier and the drama between Ethan Van Sciver, Yellow Flash, and Ethan Van Sciver and Eric July and seemingly everyone. And there's a lot of drama going on in the comic book world. We were into that right at the beginning before you got here. But getting back to Trump, when Rand Paul announced he had an announcement about the presidential election, oh man, all the libertarians were like immediately sat up and went, what? Is he going to be the VP? Is he going to be the VP? Oh, we were very excited for a day. Then he came out with this website, Never Nikki, and basically blasted Nikki Haley, which wasn't a letdown, but man, we would love to see Rand Paul as the VP pick for Trump. That would be like icing on the cake for this election. In terms of female running mates, that's like, and then Vivek Ramaswamy, but that cold water got thrown on that, I think today or yesterday. He basically started calling Vivek a phony, which Sticks and Hammer said months and months ago. Said he was a plant. And I thought, that didn't sound right. I mean, he sounds like he says all the right things. How could he be a plant? But apparently, he is a deep, deep, deep fake. according to these guys. So I wouldn't expect to see him on the ticket either. I would like to see Rand Paul, but if he picked either Carrie Lake or Kristi Noem, I think they'd be pretty acceptable picks. Generally, you want to pick a VP who, one, won't outshine you, but two, can bring you a state that you're either iffy on or that, you don't have at all, right? So if there was, like, for instance, picking DeSantis for that reason would be pointless because Florida is solidly red now. Same thing if he picked, like, I don't know, Governor DeWine at Ohio, but he kind of blew up a few days ago over some issue I won't get into. But if you had a governor of, say, a blue state like, or a purple state like, let's say Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin is kind of like light blue, maybe purple. And that governor could bring you the state because he was popular enough. That would be a huge win. I don't know what party the governor of Wisconsin is. He may be a Democrat. But that's kind of the old paradigm to pick a VP. That assumes that both parties have candidates who are establishment approved. They're not going to rock the boat too much. We're okay with both of them. We don't care which one wins. You guys pick it. It's fine. As long as one of them wins, the wars will continue. But now you got Trump. So Trump can't pick like that. He's got to pick someone who's MAGA. He's got to pick someone that won't backstab. The first VP pick of his was Mike Pence, and it was to appease the neocons. And he thought, well, I'll appease the neocons and they'll work with me at least somewhat, right? You would think that the neocons would say, okay, you picked Mike Pence. We're kind of in the administration. Trump is rough around the edges, but he's not totally insane. Didn't really work out that way. The neocons pretty much pressed their luck just as hard as the Democrats. Now, I don't think Trump wants anything to do with a neocon or an establishment Republican. So it's going to be a hardcore MAGA guy. It might be Wesley Clark, although he's probably just going to be in the administration. It's going to be somebody that the mainstream media will absolutely go bonkers over. They're going to go, oh my God, he picked her or him. Oh no. Maybe MTG. That would be a hilarious pick. I don't think he would pick her, though. Lauren Boebert. No, probably not. I think Kristi Noem and Carrie Lake is the short list. I think there's one other. I can't think of who, though. Yeah, I can't think. So we'll see in the coming months and weeks. I'm sure Trump will be fine with it. But like either Carrie Lake or Kristi Noem would be good. Carrie Lake's running for senator, though, so I lean towards Kristi Noem because she's a governor. She'd be Carrie Lake. We want her to win in Arizona, so she's a senator from Arizona, and then we take the Senate. And then, Kristi Noem, she's a governor. She's young. She's female. It helps Trump in terms of, his voting with women, right? And then women voting for Trump who were like a little iffy can say, oh, well, if Trump dies, then we got a female president. Or if Trump, even if he has a good 4 years like he did last time, well, then the economy will be great, and then Kristi Noem will slip right in there. So for a lot of people, that would be a win-win. I think for Trump, it would be a win. There's rumors of Tucker Carlson, but I don't think so. No, maybe Tulsi Gabbard. That was the third one, I think. Tulsi Gabbard would be an interesting choice. Wouldn't be a total disaster. She's been red-pilled seemingly on a lot of views, and it's slowly come around to a lot of things. And she is a politician, so I'm sure she'd be willing to just go, those last two issues I'm good on. Yeah, I'll just pretend like I always supported this. So that's what politicians do to survive and get power. So Tulsi Gabbard wouldn't be bad, Um, and then you might even pick up you probably pick up a lot of independents then. A lot of independents, because then it would be like, oh my God, he's got a VP who's essentially a Democrat. But that may piss off some of the Republicans. So I don't know. Trump's very cagey. You know, just when I think, God, does this guy know what he's doing? Man, he comes out and it's like, oh, he knew the whole time. You know, it's just crazy. It's crazy his pronouncements, how accurate some of them become. Like, he first says them, you go, maybe, I don't know. That sounds insane. Are you being insane? And then, you know, months go by and you kind of forget about it, and then a few months later it comes back and it's like, oh my God, didn't Trump say that? Holy crap. Holly M. Oil and water, those two. Possibly. But that might be good. You know? She did help him when Trump was in office during that first year and there was a crisis in Syria. She was the only Democrat. She went to Syria, I think. I want to say Syria. Somewhere in the Middle East. She went to try to help negotiate. She was the only Democrat to do that, and they friggin' blasted her for it, and I just thought it was so bizarre. You know, Trump's the president, right? He's our president. You can't treat him like he's a criminal while he's president, although they did. So, you know, it was weird. It was weird to see their reaction because they really roasted her, which is another reason she may very well be in the queue, because she may be like, F these people. I want my revenge too. And she's smart. She's not bad looking, which is a factor. And she's got some really good views on things, and the ones that I disagree on, I think mostly she wouldn't first off, she wouldn't have the power to do anything. And number two, I think to be Trump's running mate, she'd have to be a Republican, right? She'd have to convert like Trump did. And I think she would. I think she would just announce, oh, I'm a Republican now. You know, half the things I believed before, I just threw out the window. Holly M. I like Gabbard. Watch on YouTube, but Trump needs to pick someone lesser known. He has an ego. That's true, too. I don't think she's a likely pick. So maybe it'll be somebody very obscure. We don't even know. You know? I think that can blow up in your face. It kind of blew up in Ross Perot's face. He picked, like, this guy Stockdale, who was too old and nobody knew who the hell he was. He just came out of nowhere. And, yeah, it didn't look good in the VP debates during Perot. It was weird. Stockdale was kind of embarrassing during the debates. Or at least the media portrayed him that way. So, I mean, there's still a lot of time, though, and a lot can happen. You know, hang on, because it's going to be an interesting year. It already kind of is. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in tonight. I thank you on behalf of Joan, who has to go OUT to do her business in the freezing cold. Pray for little Joan. I'll be back with more videos. I still have to review Alpha Core. That'll probably be tomorrow if I get a chance to read it. Next event is Friday at Valenzano Winery in Chemung, New Jersey, from 4 to 6 p.m. And that will be, I believe, in the wine tasting room. And hopefully I will get Amazon books before then, because I'm out of book one, and I'll be really kind of bummed if I don't have any book ones when I go in there. But, I'll get through it. So thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Yeah, look for me next week. Am I good? I am doing a show on Sunday at Tom's River until 4. So we'll see. I might be a little late, but I think I can get back by 7. So if not, I'll push it back to 8 or something. But thank you for tuning in. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.